So, what if the most important part of a patient's recovery journey doesn't actually happen inside a hospital at all, but after they go home? Well, there's a healthcare startup betting big on that idea, and they just landed a huge investment to prove they're right.
$31 million. I mean, that is a staggering amount of money, right? It's the kind of funding a healthcare startup named Sukino just raised. And look, this is way more than just a pat on the back. It's a massive signal from the investment world that, something big is changing in healthcare. So that's the big question we're going to tackle. Why? Why would investors pour so much capital into this one company? Well, the answer actually lies in a huge and frankly often overlooked problem in the Indian healthcare system. And that brings us to something called the post-hospital gap. It's a really critical, and for a lot of families, an incredibly stressful part of the whole healthcare experience. It's that exact moment the hospital says, okay, you're good to go home now, but the patient is still really, really far from being okay. Think of a patient's journey kind of like a bridge, right? On one side, you've got top-notch care inside the hospital, and on the other side, you've got a full recovery back at home. But for so many people, there's this huge, kind of scary gap right in the middle of that bridge. So let's break down what this actually looks like. A patient, maybe after a really serious stay in the ICU, gets discharged, but they are nowhere near ready to be on their own. They still need medical supervision, they might need physical therapy, all sorts of specialized care. So where do they get it? That right there, that's the gap, and it's a huge source of anxiety and risk for so many families. And this, you guessed it, is exactly where Sukino comes into the picture. Their entire business is built around being that missing piece of the bridge. They're solving this very specific problem by, well, bridging the divide between being sent home from the hospital and actually getting fully better. Now, the key concept they're working with here is called the continuum of care. It's a pretty powerful idea. It basically means that a patient's journey doesn't just stop at the hospital doors. Instead, their care is seamless, it's consistent as they move from that intensive hospital setting to a dedicated recovery phase. And their CEO, Rajneesh Menon, puts it perfectly. He says Sukino isn't trying to compete with hospitals. No, they're a partner. They're stepping in to complete the full circle of care, tackling what he calls that significant gap in the market. Okay, so we get the problem, we get the solution. Now, let's talk about the money. Let's dig into the investment itself and see how this new cash is going to fuel their future plans. All right, let's look at the deal. It was a massive $31 million Series A round. And for anyone who doesn't know, a Series A is usually the first major injection of venture capital a startup gets. And get this, it was led by Bessemer Venture Partners, who are a huge global player in the investment game. So this is a big deal. So why did Bessemer write such a big check? Well, their partner, Vishal Gupta, says it's because Sukino is solving a critical need gap. For them, this isn't just some clever business idea. It's a real solution to a fundamental problem, and they see a clear path for Sukino to become a major force in healthcare. So what exactly do you do with $31 million? You build. And the plan is super clear and really ambitious. First up, they're going to expand into new major cities. We're talking Delhi, NCR, and Kolkata. Second, they're going to dramatically scale up by adding over 2,000 managed beds in just the next few years. And finally, they're going to pour money into their tech to make the whole process even better. Okay, let's just zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture here. Why does this one company's funding round matter so much for the future of healthcare in India as a whole? Because, and this is the key takeaway, this story is so much bigger than just one company. This investment is like a giant flashing sign that validates this entire out-of-hospital care sector. It confirms that the future of healthcare isn't just about what happens inside the hospital walls, but it's about building a professional, robust system for everything that comes after. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. With this kind of major investment backing a very clear market need, are we looking at the blueprint for the future of out-of-hospital care in India? It's a $31 million bet that the answer to that is a huge, resounding yes.